My name is Made Kuti, which is short for Omorinmade Anikulapo-Kuti. I am a musician, a songwriter, a performer, and a composer. Growing up in the Shrine, honestly, I think gave me a very different perspective on life than most people would have had my age. Because the Shrine always challenged what was believed to be the status quo. It always challenged authority, and it did so in a very expressive way. It's a place for creatives to feel at home. That is musicians, dancers and artists, no matter what field you are. It's really a space that is for multiple purposes. So, I grew up around my father and Auntie YK being in the Shrine, and they always expressed the importance of Pan-Africanism for the African. So the Shrine that is what the Shrine tends to represent most of all. It is a tribute to every living and dead incredible civil rights activist that has done more than they could for the entire movement for Pan-Africanism. So we're talking about Lumumba, Sankara, Kwame Nkrumah, Fela, Kuti, everybody that fought for the emancipation of the African and the progress for Nigeria and its people. So I'd always ask, who is this guy on the poster? My father would say Sankara, and he'd explain who Sankara was to me. And that level of information I never got anywhere else. It was only in the Shrine I could learn about history. I wasn't taught history in school. I wasn't taught about my identity in school. I wasn't taught about my culture in school. I wasn't taught about the effects of colonialism on my own mental state in school. In school, I was wearing a tie. In school, I was doing assembly and I was forced to pray, regardless of what religion I was a part of. And those kind of abnormalities, the Shrine always easily just diminished all of them. So you'd go out into the world and there'll be so many things that wouldn't make sense. And it wouldn't make sense until you entered the Shrine. That's the kind of space it was for. From the beginning, there was never a time when I made a decision to come back. I was always coming back. From the moment I left, I spent 7 years in London. From the first day, I was already planning my return. And it was always about music for me. And the Shrine is my family's business. And it's not a business that I know that they have approached with a financial gain in mind. It's always been about the best possible venue, the best possible space, the most creative space we can possibly give the people who are victim to the society that they're part of. And I've always felt like the Shrine is one of the truest venues in all of Nigeria. And I think people that visit into the country feel the same way. We're not pretentious. We don't try to class people into certain social classes to make them feel uncomfortable when they get here. We don't praise people that have money, and we don't shame people that don't. Shrine is, in the proper sense of it, classless. So if you come, you pay 1,000 naira for the gates, or you pay 2,000 naira for the gates. Everybody's dancing on the same dance floor. And that has always been what my dad has dreamed of the Shrine to be. And I've always loved that. I've always loved that I could do something for my community that was not necessarily, that wasn't selfish. And I just wanted to, it's like a lot of the shows at Shrine, my dad does them at ridiculously cheap fees. It's not what is running the Kuti legacy. The Shrine is really all about giving back. And celebration is free from Monday to Saturday. So every single person that comes in just walks in and has a good time. Friday club nights are still free time. So yeah, it was never a question about returning. I always knew from when I was a child and I watched my dad perform that I wanted to play on that stage. I wanted to be able to sing on that stage. And the desire, everything that happened in between me coming back was just part of my road to lead me back. I never diverted. If I went to school, it was to learn, so I would learn and come back and use it. Yeah. I think any child would be influenced by his environment or her environment. So I grew up here in this room that we're in. and it was a very different room. I just renovated it a couple years ago, but I used to go to school, which was down the road from here. But in between school and classes and lessons, my dad was playing Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday every single day of the week. When he went on tour, he'd take me with him. So I went with him to the States. I toured Australia with him. I'd been to Japan with him. I'd been to Europe with him. I think the only continent I hadn't toured with him was South America. And I'd follow him to the studio. You know, I was part of some of the recordings from when I was about 8 years old and 9 years old. So being that direct to the process of music making and music performance, I don't think, unless you really hated it, you would not be influenced by it. But I loved every moment of it. I loved watching him perform. I loved seeing the purity of his sound, the message he was carrying for each song he played. I loved seeing how people received, you know, the message, how they interpreted it, how they danced, how the dancers danced, how the musicians played. Everything about it was beautiful. I was just planning my own time from the first time I saw it. For as long as I can remember, there was, like I said, there was never a point where I decided to play music. It was always music for as long as I can remember. So there's nothing I would have done instead, but there are things I might have done simultaneously. I don't know, like I said, I really like astronomy. If I had a good science teacher, I might have been very interested in that. If I had a good teacher, I might have been interested in physics, because I like reading on physics. I like, whenever they discover something, I am unabashedly amazed by how incredible the world is and how it runs. I probably would not have excelled at it, but I like it. It's a hobby, yeah. And I like history as well. So history, physics, astronomy, and music. Oh yeah, it's Nigeria now. Nigerian education is incredibly broken.
Stagnant.
It's not even stagnant, it's just broken. It does not suit the Nigerian case at all. It does not inform you about who you are. It doesn't inspire you to be something more than what society expects. It sort of designs you to work in the West.
Yes.
Not even in Africa. So yeah, it's like we're constantly breeding an army of laborers for the West, for the States and for Europe. But you know, it's like what they say, whenever there's people repairing roads, there's Chinese men you see behind it. When our president wants to solve his sickness, it's America or Europe that he's going to. And like my dad said, you never hear the king of England now being treated in the States. It would jeopardize the entire sovereignty of the United Kingdom. It would mean that they are incapable of the standards that they preach that they have. Or, you know, the president of the United States coming to even Canada to treat himself. It's unheard of, but we normalize foreign treatment for leaders. So I think the standards that we set for ourselves in our educational system are very, very low. And they are catered, again, not to us. We don't learn enough about agriculture. We don't learn enough about nature. There are not enough environmentalists. We barely produce anything here. So it's broken. That's the best word I think to describe it. It's just a very cool place. There's a lot of people that have been part of the community for a very long time. The shrine is now 23 years old. So the OGs of the shrine, you know, they do everything to make the place run as safely as possible and as calmly as possible. The manager that welcomed you, for example, has been here since the beginning. I've heard some things about us sacrificing people here, and you know, we don't project any form of religion. It's not a space for spirituality. It is, if you feel spiritually connected to anything when you come here, it is your own belief. We don't discriminate. We're not hypocrites either. You know, if we're going to question something, we're going to question everything. So if you come as a Christian, then you know you have to be able to defend your religion if anybody wants to talk to you about it. It's the same as anywhere else. It's all about music. It's about food. There's a restaurant. You can buy what you like and eat it. There's a bar. There's suya. There are 4-5 pool tables now for people that play. There's a, what's that thing? Vape. There's a vape shop. There's a talk shop with snacks, and there's a merchandise shop, and there's a bookshop. So it's really just that kind of space. It's hard to defend something when the criticism doesn't make any sense. So like I said, I grew up here, and I know many children that have been coming here since I was a child, and if anything, I don't blame the public. I blame, at the time when my father was sort of at the peak of his fame in his career with tracks like Sorry Sorry and Bang Bang Bang, when they were banned in the radio, this is early 2000s, it was important to discredit the shrine because there were about 2,000 people coming for every show, every Tuesday, every Thursday. So a week, there were probably about 10,000 people coming to the shrine in between 2004 to 2008. So with that amount of soft power that my dad had, it was sort of important that they discredited the entire environment and anybody that came here, because the most dangerous kinds of people, I think, are intellectual people. And it's sort of what like my road outside of my house is so bad, but I realized why they leave it bad. It's because once you're at the state of survival where there's so much you have to battle against, and you're trying to be a good person. These are hardworking citizens. They do their 9 to 5s. They're honest. They try not to steal, and then they'll go on bad roads. They'll go when there's no lights. It's because that's how they are forced to live their lives. They don't have time to question anything. You can't really start reading books about intellectual thought. You can't read, I don't know, what the Scramble for Africa. You can't read The Black Man of the Nile. You don't have time to question anything. You only have time to live. So I realized that that's what they do. So it's first they discredit anything that has value, that goes against what they are trying to project. And then they force you in a situation where you don't have time to even fight for what you want, because you have to survive. So in between that survival, you can't question anything. You can complain. You say, the road is not good, but will you organize? No, they don't give you time to organize. They tell you, dollar is reasonable, better go and make money. Then fuel, petrol, then you have to do everything because you're hustling. So in between the hustle, you can't progress.